Hello everyone, welcome to Pre-Calculus Chapter 8 Lesson 1 where we introduce the polar coordinate system. So essentially the polar coordinate system is going to graph a point using distances and angles. And what that means is that I could graph a point, for example the point 2, 2, using my regular x, y coordinate plane. But the polar coordinate system, what it's going to do is it's going to graph the same point and it's going to measure it from the origin and it's going to give the radius distance, how far out it is, and an angle off of the positive x-axis. Okay, and this starting point is known as the pole or the origin for our polar coordinate system. This line on the positive x-axis is the initial side of your angle. Okay, and the ordered pairs are written as the radius and the angle, so r theta. So this angle here, which may be pi over 4, okay, because we have equal x's and y's, so it's pi over 4. And this distance here would be 2 times the square root of 2. That would be the point that I just graphed. Okay, so let's go over a few questions to show you how this graphing actually works. So the first one that we're going to graph is the point 1 and 3 pi over 4. So when you want to graph, you start off by drawing the pole and the polar axis like that. Now 3 pi over 4, that's more than pi over 2, the vertical line. 3 pi over 4 is in this quadrant here, let me just lightly draw my axes. So it has a reference angle of 45 degrees from this axis. 3 pi over 4 would be headed in this direction like that. And our radius is 1. So you would just draw a line like this with a point at the end. If you want, you can label it as being 1, and technically our graph would look just like this. Now, sometimes you can see polar graph paper, and you can find that in some cases, and I will have some in our classroom later on for when we do some of our more difficult graphing. But for the most part with this, we're just going to estimate. Now, because this is only 1 unit out, I don't need to put any tick marks, but if this had been 2, I would do a tick mark and then the point would be at the next one. So that's how we count out our radius, is we just put tick marks to show where things are. So this is 1 tick mark out. So let's do another graphing question. It says graph 3 negative pi over 6. So again, to graph this, I'm going to start off with my pole and my polar axis. Now this angle, negative pi over 6, means I go about 30 degrees down and I make my line. So I can label this as negative pi over 6 for my angle. And then I need 1, 2, and my point is going to be on this third tick mark right here. And that is my graph for the point 3, negative pi over 6. Okay. Now, you can have angles that are larger than a full circle. So perhaps I want to graph the point 3 pi. So again, I'll start by drawing my pole and my polar axis. Now, to show this angle that's more than 2 pi, what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw basically a circle. I start here and I'm drawing around this to get to 2 pi to make a full circle. Now I need to go an extra pi, which would take me over to this right here, this negative x-axis. So I'm just going to draw around with an arrow. I can label it as 3 pi. And now I just need to put my 3 tick marks on that line I drew. So 1, 2, 3 right here. So that is the point 3 pi. And we use this kind of curly Q to indicate that I've gone around once and then I went a little extra, pi extra. Okay. Now, the other special case, so if I don't have an angle that's more than 2 pi, the other thing that could be special is the r may be negative. So let's talk about what that does. So maybe I have the point -4 pi over 4. Okay, I'm going to start the same way. Polar axis. And I'm going to find pi over 4, which is about 45 degrees. So it's going to be here. So pi over 4. Now, -4 would go in the opposite direction this way. So I would do this, and I draw the line going in the opposite direction. And I'd just do 1, 2, 3, and I need the 4th tick mark where my point is. So I would show that this opens to pi over 4, and I'd put a dotted line there, but my line actually goes in the other direction because it was a negative value for my r. So this is the point -4 pi over 4. Okay. So that's all the graphing we have. Now, let's say I wanted to find 2 other representations of a coordinate. For example, maybe I had the point 2 and pi over 3. So maybe I wanted to represent this in a different way. Maybe one where I change the r value and one where I change the angle measure. So they might say where r is greater than 0. If they're asking you for that, r is greater than 0 for a representation, that means this r value is going to stay positive, and I have to change this pi over 3. And the way we can do that is I'm just going to add on 2 pi to this, a full circle. So this would be 6 pi over 3, plus pi over 3 is 7 pi over 3. So this is the point 2 pi over 3. So anytime they say find another representation where r is greater than 0, you're going to do theta plus 2 pi. And if you wanted to, you could do theta minus 2 pi. That would also work because it's going to take you a full circle in the other direction. So this original point would have been about here. And what I did is I said, okay, to get to this point, I'm going to go a full circle and then an extra pi over 3, and here it is again. And it would land at the same point. So they are what we call coterminal, where they end at the same point. Now, if they said where r is less than 0, what that means is that I need the angle that's opposite this, the one that would come this way. Because what I'm going to do is I'm going to make this -2, but I need to find this angle over here. And it's easiest to do with a unit circle and just trace this line across, and you would find out that that would be 4 pi over 3. Essentially what we're doing there is in most cases we're just doing theta plus pi because we're going an extra 180 degrees to get to this line, and we're going to make our r value negative. Okay, so if you want an r greater than 0, you're just going to add 2 pi onto your theta and keep everything else the same, assuming this was positive. If they want an r less than 0, that means they want negative r. So you're going to make the r negative and then adjust this to be 180 degrees beyond it. Now again, you could subtract pi. Depending upon where this angle is, you could subtract pi and it would still work. Okay, so that's it for this video about the graphing. Next, we're going to be talking about how to change an ordered pair from a normal coordinate system into a polar coordinate system. And we're going to talk about how to change a polar coordinate into a rectangular coordinate. So make sure to watch that video.